Hey everyone, so Invictus has actually started, and I'm going to be doing my usual thing where I make videos for each of the days with the different manufacturers as they take over the haul and show off the ships that they have available and the upcoming ships that will eventually be in the game in the form of holo viewer models. So yeah, if you've made your way to the haul on the day already, then there's probably nothing new for you to see in here, but if you didn't manage to get over here for one of these days, then I'm going to try to show you everything that you'd want to see. So there is supposed to be a guy there, but he seems to be missing. And then coming into the main hall, we're greeted with the main display room, and it's RSI, Origin, and Argo today, as well as Consolidated Outland. So that's why the main ships we have are all RSI ships in this main room. And then just like we had at the IAE last year, we've got some weapons displays off to the sides. Alright, starting with the starter ship, here we have the Aurora LN. So this is basically just an upgraded Aurora, whichever one the base variant is, if you want to consider that the ES or the MR. But yeah, this is basically an Aurora with a different color scheme and with some better stock components than the other ones. Here we have the Mantis. This is a very cool ship, and it's unique in that it's the only ship currently in the game with a quantum enforcement device. The Cutlass Blue also has a device that disrupts quantum travel, but I believe this is the only one that can pull ships out of quantum travel instead of just being able to hold them in place. And you can see that device here, and it opens up when it's powered on. But yeah, this is the small sized interdiction ship, and there's no other interdiction ships yet. So it's unique in that way, and I also like its styling, and hope that this RSI styling carries over to the other ships like the Apollo and whatnot when those eventually make their way into the game. Now moving on to the three constellations. Over here we have the Andromeda. This is the mostly combat focused one. It has the most missiles, I believe. It has 2 turrets with weapons on them, and then the snub mounted at the rear, and of course all of the pilot controllable guns. And then you also have this pretty sizable cargo bay with around 100 SU of storage. And recently, with the shields working correctly now and the snub being flyable, it's a pretty solid combat ship. Now here we have the Aquila. It has a different front glass sort of area than the other ones, and it also has a scanning station as the top turret instead of one with weapons. It also has that same sort of cargo bay and pretty much the exact same interior as the Andromeda though, and it also has that snub. So this is missing its exploration functionality for now, but it's still a pretty solid overall ship. And then here we have the Phoenix. This is the luxury variant, and it actually has a pretty different layout from the other two, with a split cargo deck level and habitation area level with a bar and guest rooms. But it also has that snub and all of those pilot weapons. And yeah, the snub is a slightly different model. This is the P72 instead of the P52. Alright, now heading off to the right side of the expo hall, we're going to be able to see the other ships through here. But we also have the F8 Lightning on display over here, and this one has a special livery. I believe this designates that it's part of the 999 Squadron, if that's what it's called, which is similar to something like the Blue Angels, but just in the Star Citizen verse. And you can see that this thing is absolutely bristling with weapons. Alright, and then moving into the side room, we can see the rest of the ships that are available to rent and fly around in game today. I believe that some more of the side rooms will be used up for some of the other manufacturer days for manufacturers with more ships, but today it's only the main room in this room. So here we have another sort of starter ship, but this is one of the more upgraded ones. This is a variant of the 100i, and this is the combat variant, the 125A. I believe the weapon hardpoints are the same for all the variants, but this one just has additional missiles. Overall, it's not the best ship in terms of price value, but as a ship it's pretty solid and fun to fly. And then here we have another combat-focused variant that's part of a series. So this is the 325A, it's part of the 300 series. And this one actually has a nose hardpoint that's one size larger than the standard variant. And it's got interior amenities like a bed and a toilet, as well as some decent cargo space in the rear. And it has some pretty solid flight performance. It also just looks really nice. Again, as an Origin ship though, it's not the best value. And then in the central area here, we have another variant of a starter ship, and this is the combat variant of the Mustang Delta. So this has a pretty solid stock loadout in terms of weaponry, but it also has the interesting feature of those rocket pods, which you can see on both sides, which shoot dumbfire rockets, and as far as I remember, this is the only ship with that sort of feature. And while this isn't necessarily the best fighter, it's still pretty capable and a lot of fun to fly, just like all the Mustangs. Alright, so here we have a few Argo MPUVs. These are the cargo variant of this ship, and there is also a personnel carrying variant of the ship, but I do not believe that that's available to see today. So you can see this one here is the MPUV, and this is the cargo variant. You can see it's decently sizable cargo grid for a ship this small. These don't have quantum drives, so if you do rent out one of these, you'll just be able to fly it around the station or around the spaceport when you take off with it, but you won't be able to quantum travel anywhere. And they also don't have any weapons, since these are a very specialized ship built for pretty much one purpose of carrying either personnel or cargo to and from larger capital ships. Alright, so that's it for the ships that are available today. Nothing too special today, but again, a lot of these are fun little ships to fly. And I would recommend checking out the interior of the Constellation Phoenix if you haven't before. It's a pretty unique ship. Moving on downstairs, we'll be able to see one vehicle, I believe, and then quite a lot of Holo Veer models. So here we have that vehicle. This is the RSI Ursa Rover. This, I believe, comes with the Aquila, and it's a pretty capable exploration rover. It's got a small turret with size 1 weapons on it, a reasonable amount of interior space with these seats that can either fold up to store some cargo on these small grids here, or carry 4 people in the back here. And then you've got a small storage area here, and the main cockpit, I guess you'd call it, with the driver's seat and a passenger seat. And here you can see this one has the turret extended, and this one has it in its retracted position. Now here is where all the Holo viewer models are, and this one here is the G12A, so that's the anti-air variant of the G12. You can see it has a variety of missiles up there. I'm not sure of the size of those, but not quite as large as something like the Ballista, but still probably enough to handle a couple of fighters. And this is Origin's rover, or one of the rovers in the G12 series that will be coming eventually. Next we have a fan favorite ship, the RSI Polaris. This is a pretty large ship. It's a corvette, and it's technically a capital ship, and it focuses on using torpedoes and speed to take on larger targets or doing a ton of damage to smaller targets. But it also has a lot of facilities on board to be useful in a variety of situations. Here we have another RSI ship. So this is supposed to be the Taurus, but I believe they're just using an old model from the Aquila, because as far as I know, the Taurus is not supposed to have that curved front canopy, just like the Aquila. But the Taurus is sort of the budget variant of the Constellation series, but it also is going to have the highest cargo capacity. So it gives up that snub at the rear in order to have a longer cargo bay, which you can't really see in this model because this isn't the model for the Taurus. But the Taurus is supposedly coming very soon, and that should be an interesting mid-level cargo ship. Now here's a slightly larger ship from RSI. This is the Perseus. It's a bit smaller than the Polaris, and it's a corvette that is laser focused on one thing, and that's these 2 large turrets which have dual size 7 weapons. So this thing will be able to take on larger targets as well as anything that it can hit using those heavy turrets. And that level of firepower should make it a pretty useful addition to a lot of fleets, especially with the minimal crew size that it looks like it'll require for running those weapons. And then last but definitely not least, we have the all-new RSI Scorpius. So this is, they're calling it a heavy fighter, but it's more of a Hurricane competitor. So it's a 2-seater, and in the stock configuration, meaning like no blades or anything for the turret, the pilot has control of these 4 weapons that are mounted on the wings, and the co-pilot or gunner has control of this turret. And this turret is interesting because you can see at the rear of the ship there's these rails, and the turret can move back and forth along those rails and even come to a kind of underslung position under the ship facing completely backwards. So yeah, I'm not sure that I'd call this a heavy fighter now that we know what it's going to be, but it's a cool looking ship. And if you're looking for a ship that fits into a hangar on something like a Polaris but still has a lot of firepower, this has a lot of firepower for the size if you put those 2 people on board to have it running at full capacity. Alright, so that's all I have for today. If you're watching this the day it's posted, these ships should still be in the expo hall for around another day or so, but then they'll be gone the next day to make way for the next manufacturer, which I believe is Aegis. A lot of ships that they make are fun to fly and check out, so that's one to look forward to. But if you happen to miss any of the days, I'll be making a video like this for all of the days, so you can see what was there. And also, new with this Invictus, the last couple of days of the expo, you'll be able to rent all of the ships that were previously available. So if you do see something a couple of days late, but that's still going on, then you still have the chance to check it out there. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I also hope you're enjoying Invictus. And I also want to give a special thank you to my members, The Pear Effect and Starlit Domina. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, I really appreciate it. Anyway, that's it for today, and thanks for watching.